So hello everybody, my name is Mike Hackett from PCI College. I am a member of the senior faculty with PCI and I'm also the Advanced Diploma in Clinical Supervision Program Leader. So with me today is Catriona. Catriona is one of our former graduates of the Advanced Diploma in Supervision and has very kindly agreed to join us today to talk about her experiences of the course. So you're very welcome, Catriona, and it's good to see you again.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Would you like to maybe just give us a quick introduction as to your professional standing, who you are, how you work, and maybe just give us a little bit of background about you to start?
Okay, so my background is in counselling psychotherapy. I started with Delirium individual psychology, I qualified in that, and then I went on to study humanistic integrative therapy. I became accredited with the Irish Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists, the ICP, in 2012. Following this, I studied Gestalt skills and therapy because I'm very interested in body work. Then I went on to study suicidology, and following this became a citizen responder because I have a great interest in trauma. And I've been on this learning curve like this for a while, and then I was thinking, like, what next? What next? And
Wonderful.
I suppose that's where the Advanced Diploma in Supervision came in.
Yeah, so it's augmenting your already fairly comprehensive experience as being a therapist into the kind of next level, which is being a supervisor. What was it that made you decide to up your training a step further and go to supervision training then?
Well, there's been a lot of changes in the profession with the regulations and that coming in, and I really hold our profession close to my heart, and I want to be instrumentally involved in that and in good practice moving forward.
Wonderful. And your experience as a supervisee then, because obviously as a therapist we all have to be in supervision for a while. What was the idea of moving from supervisee to supervisor like for you?
Strange. Strange. And it's nearly almost like a reflective mirror image. So you can take all of the good experiences that I have had, and I've had wonderful supervision throughout the years, and bring that as well into my work as a supervisor. So it's been very, very helpful.
You've gotten to see both sides of it then, the role
sides.
of supervisee and the role of supervisor. Yeah.
Yes, and supervision on my supervision as a trainee. And
the ever increasing circles outward and outward for that. Yeah, very good. I think one of the things that previous students have said about the course, and we'll talk about the course in a minute or two, was that funnily enough, not just were they learning supervision skills, but they seemed to also get a bit of a boost to their therapy professional practice. Was that at all your experience? And if it was, maybe you'd say something about that.
Yeah, I suppose, and since how it would have enhanced my practice, if I kind of take it a step to the left, and my as a citizen responder, the organisational piece in the course has helped me greatly, because in that instance I am dealing with the organisation and I'm dealing with management, and to help them see how best supervision or how best critical incident responses in that instance might best benefit themselves, and they can really clearly see how it will best benefit their staff as well. So that's been extremely helpful in my work. And also the monitoring and continuous development piece in relation to my counselling psychotherapy practice as well.
Okay. And how would you describe these days? You're doing a bit of organizational work, but you're also in private practice, I'm guessing. Are you also in those two contexts as a supervisor now as well?
Not in the, I am actually, yes, I am actually in the organisational piece. Since completing the course, I'm now in the panel with the Department of Education and Science to work with their career guidance teachers.
Congratulations, that's great. Yeah. And how has the career move been for you overall, moving from kind of counselling, private and organisational practice into the supervisory wing of your practice then? Say a little bit about that if you would.
That's I actually thought about it for about 5 months about becoming accredited, you know, and to try and let everything kind of integrate in and kind of become attuned with who I am as a supervisor. Then I decided to go for my accreditation when I felt ready. So that's kind of important. Just, you know, you are ready, and I was ready for accreditation with the ICP upon completion of the course. I wanted to give it some time. It was personal choice. And it's grown exponentially since, and it's a lovely way of working. It's different, it's dynamic, and working cross-professionally as well as a supervisor. So I'm able to kind of bring all that piece in now, and I've become more integrated into my work as a supervisor as well. So it's kind of going from one to the other is really interesting.
Wonderful. Yeah. And do you have, I suppose, like many of us maybe who are supervisors as well as therapists, we probably have little bits and pieces of the work that we prefer over other bits. What do you like most about being a supervisor? If I could force you to kind of think about one or two aspects of it.
I suppose supervision, it's all about the relationship, and it's creating a space that supports the emergence of the supervisee's way of being with their clients, their own internal supervisor, their own skills and style. What I love about supervision is it's not problem solving. It's an unknown safety. So I'm holding the client and holding the supervisee together in that space and allowing for what's unknown and allowing for uncertainty. And just when we reframe to seeing the awakening and the awareness coming in and that's what it is. And it happens between both of us. And I really love that piece of the work. Really love it. Yeah.
It's a lovely description. It's kind of like the two trapeze artists overhead, and supervision is the safety net underneath in case anybody falls. Yeah. It's a beautiful, beautiful description. Yeah. So that seems to be something that really your face lights up when you talk about that aspect of your work. You seem to really enjoy it.
It is, because we all work differently, and it's trying to understand the other person's frame of reference around working, and also my own unfolding self with that as well. Because I've dug in a little bit more with the supervision, the advanced diploma supervision, and then something else comes out of that as well.
Right. Yeah. So as you say, you're a lifelong learner, always reaching for that extra developmental piece. Do you see that as an important role of a supervisor today?
Absolutely. It's essential. It's the university of life, and for continuous professional development in many aspects, in the supervision realm, in the psychotherapy and counselling realm as well. And also with supervisees coming in from different professional backgrounds, to be interested in the kind of work they're doing too, and what's changing, what's happening there.
Right. And that cross-professional, there seems to be a growing demand for cross-professional supervision. It's not just the realms of psychotherapy anymore. So nurses, doctors, social workers, healthcare professionals of all kinds. So that sounds like it's been a really interesting branch from just therapy supervision for you.
Yes, and I do feel you're right when you say that, Mike. There's more and more of a need for cross-professional supervision, even with the recent climate at the moment with the frontline staff and what's happened, in relation to the crisis that they're experiencing. Not only the trauma response side of it, but the need for good supervision, a place for support, a place to be replenished and to understand what's happening for you on a professional level, as well as on a personal level. Bringing in the counselling piece can often help a person understand, maybe I need a little bit of therapy around this, or a little bit of debriefing.
Gotcha. And it sounds like that's very much informed by how you said your kind of original training was. You're interested in trauma work, you're interested in body work, you use some Gestalt. Do they kind of influence how you supervise now, not just as a therapist as well, but how is the kind of amalgamation of all of that rich learning that you've been engaged in over the last while shaped your supervision practice?
Absolutely, because as a supervisor, I'm looking constantly for what's not being seen and what's not being heard. A vicarious trauma would be something that we would encounter in therapy, and burnout and things like that. And sometimes the supervisee can't feel that because they're numbed, because they've had to cope with what's happening for them. So I might often feel it in my body. So sometimes it's sitting with it, and just sitting with what's happening between myself and my supervisee can bring about a lot of awareness as well. So it's really, really good, and also help the supervisee then to begin to connect with their own body and what's happening for them around that.
Wonderful. And maybe even as supervisors, we're tracking how what's happening between us and our supervisee might be happening between the supervisee and their client.
Absolutely, absolutely. Something can often come up and supervisee would say, that's how I feel, or that's how my client feels. So, yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the course then. So obviously it's been a little bit of time since you finished the program, and you spent a bit of time integrating and kind of bringing all the knowledge and skills together into a way that you felt like you wanted to muster in support of your professional practice and supporting supervisees. What was your experience of the course like overall?
Well, PCI, as we know, the ethos of PCI is person-centred, it's student-focused, and that is really at the heart and the core of the teaching and learning. That's one of the reasons I chose PCI College. And that was exactly my experience. I felt, I don't know how to say this, but it's true. I felt cocooned and challenged at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, and there was a great kind of balance between the theory and the practice, role plays and creativity. And then in our group, we were all cross-professional of my fellow students. And I did 50 hours of practicum as a supervisee in training. And I got to work cross-professionally in the group setting and on the one-to-one.
So it kind of set you up for what later now these days has become very much a core component of your career piece.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So there was those moments, and I think I might have said this to you before, oftentimes as an adult in learning, there can be those lags where you feel, oh, I'm going to just nod off, or, you know, the afternoon will get a little bit. There weren't those moments. I never experienced that. There was dynamic, there was always energy, there was always movement, there was always another thought process happening, and the interaction between the lecturers, and we 3 wonderful lecturers. And I suppose even when you're looking at ethics and law, you think, oh my goodness, it's a heavy topic. How did they manage to make it not a heavy topic but serious? They did.
Wonderful.
They did. And it was bringing the creativity into that as well, to understand my whole self, and that there are no black and whites, that there's always room for grey. There's always grey areas, and the artwork with that really helped.
So it kind of helped you shift out of that purely academic view of the knowledge and the skills development, and allowed you to expand a real engagement with the material and how it resonated with you as an adult learner then.
And I always knew where I stood. We had regular progress review meetings. I gave my feedback, and Mike, you gave your feedback, and areas that I was really doing well with, and areas for improvement. In that process, I learned how to receive feedback. I'm going to receive feedback from my supervisees, how to give feedback, and how I will give feedback to my supervisees. So the receiving and giving of good, constructive feedback. So even that process and the litmus test of where I was at helped me with the feedback piece as well.
That's great. I think it's maybe been your experience as well, maybe the idea of the supervisor's role as evaluation. We need to be able to know how to generously and constructively, critically, without shaming or without, affecting the supervisee so much that we create ruptures, is a really important skill. It sounds like you've mastered it really well.
Oh, I'm getting there.
Yeah. Wonderful. What else about the course? So you talked about a couple of different aspects of it. Say something about the group experience, maybe. What was it like to be thrown into a cross-professional group then?
Absolutely a wonderful experience. Wonderful. And just to sit back and listen to the different perspectives, and also every person there had a different experience of supervision because it's cross-professional. From that kind of old autocratic kind of sense of supervision in a managerial sense to the kind of supervision I'd be used to, which is more collegial and dynamic, and able to bring kind of all that together, and to understand the different pressures that were on and scope of the work that the different students were coming from was very, very interesting. It gave me insights as well as to the organisation piece and the scope of the work, and how important it is to understand where a supervisee is coming from.
Right.
What resources they have to support them, and also what might hinder them because they haven't got the freedom or the flexibility to maybe to do what they want to do.
Right. And I love that idea that you picked up there on that maybe traditionally supervisors were seen as quite authoritative, the kind of, we are gatekeepers of our profession after all. That's the responsibility that is placed in the hands of a supervisor. But I love the way you described it there as being very collaborative, very co-equal with the supervisee. Tell me a little bit about your experience of that, stepping away from that maybe more older traditional view of supervisor being totally authoritative or in charge all the time. How did that kind of affect your style of supervision and how you like to supervise?
Well, I kind of see this kind of lovely, like embracing environment. We are two colleagues sitting together. Yes, supervisors come at different stages of development, from the novice, the journey person to the master craftsman, and each will have their different needs depending on the level and stage of development that the person is at. But essentially, I'm dealing with another practitioner in the room, and it's how we can work together for the better good and the care of our clients and the profession.
So that sounds really core.
That's the common goal.
That's lovely. And I agree. As you know, I'm very much in favor of that co-equal stance. Even student therapists who perhaps are starting out or are at their very early career, we sometimes equate students as kind of very novice level, but not to discount the fact that they're carrying a whole lifetime of experience into their novitiate as well. Yeah. And not to kind of cast that aside, to really be with the person as much as possible.
And a wealth of experience. A lot of people, I suppose, in our realm of work, go on to become counsellors, psychotherapists later on in life. So they have a whole wealth of experience and knowledge to bring with them, enriching really to the profession.
Very much. And my experience has also been how generous people have been in those cross-professional groups like you experienced on the course to share generously their insights, their knowledge, their awareness as well. Yeah. What would you kind of say in terms of advice for a therapist out there who maybe has been wrestling with the idea of becoming a supervisor, or maybe wrestling with the idea of doing a course like ours? Any tips or ideas you would have for them?
Well, if you feel you want to become a supervisor, I would say go for it. There are a lot of courses out there, so you don't need to search any further. I did the research. I was 3 years contemplating becoming a supervisor. The reason I chose this course, Mike, the Advanced Diploma in Supervision with PCI College, is because it meets the criteria for the IACP if you want to go for accreditation. It's validated by Middlesex University. Level 8 here, FHEQ 6 in the UK. It's cross-professional, so it's going to change the dynamics of your workplace. It includes the organisational piece, which is really beneficial because supervision is becoming more mainstream now, cross-professionally. PCI College and the ethos of PCI College from the ground up is still the same as it was when it was conceived back in the 91, 90?
More than 25 years, 1991 is right, yes.
Yeah. And then also, because you have PCI College here and you have Middlesex University there, you have 2 libraries to pull from. Online libraries, which is whether you're working online or you're in the on-site in the classroom, it doesn't matter. So you have journals, research papers, ebooks, everything to pull on. And just to say about you, Mike, if you have been out of academic studies for a while and you're saying, I don't know whether to become a supervisor, I qualified as a psychotherapist many years ago, done a course here and a course there, don't worry. I had a different style of referencing before I came into PCI. I used the Harvard style. So I didn't know the APA style of referencing. Regular Zoom classes, regular Zoom lectures from you on academic writing and everything. If it wasn't convenient for me to get online for the live lecture, I could log on later on. And that really helped me as well. So I say to anybody, don't worry. you'll be handheld and you'll be helped to get back into the rhythm of things, you know, for the academic piece as well, because experientially you have it.
Great.
You have everything it takes. If you think you can do it, you have it. It's
to
just
go for it.
Things together. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Thanks so much. I think that's been really, really lovely. You know, we like to put a lot of emphasis on getting what we call the 3 legs of the stool into all of our training. We're talking about grounding somebody in the theories and the models and the frameworks of the subject, like supervision, that they're studying. We like to really immerse them in the evidence, and how do you become a contemporary evidence-based supervisor? What are the influences of the evidence, the body of literature about that? But we also try to make it as accessible in terms of skills practice as possible, making sure we integrate and bring that learning alive as much as possible. And then the third part is the personal development part, which you've touched on a little bit before. You know, often when we have reached a certain point in our career, we go on to a course like this and we regress because we learn what it's like to start as a novice again, and that can be hard. We kind of slip back.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So it's a journey, I suppose, isn't it, from that development stage all over again.
Absolutely. It is like starting again, but to realize you're not starting again. You might feel like it, but you're not. It's a new way of working and a new way of being with the work.
Lovely. Great. So that's really good advice, you know, if you're considering it, to really consider it. And if you like the idea of those 3 legs, well, then maybe something like this is for you. Yeah. Absolutely. That's been really wonderful. We've covered a lot of ground, it feels like, and our time has flown by so quickly. Is there anything you'd like to say to potential supervisors out there on reflection now, just over the last time we've spoken, or something that you maybe are burning to say that we haven't covered so far?
I suppose whether you're in the nursing profession, psychiatric nursing, social care, or counselling psychotherapy, there is a real need for good supervisors. And to hold your profession, because these are all helping, caring professions, we hold them in our hearts. It means so much to us, and how we can help people who are helping others. And in some ways, as you know, in the work you're doing, you're a compassionate witness, and also as a supervisor, you're a compassionate witness. So if you can take that essentially, but it also needs to be qualified, also needs proper standards for work. PCI's Advanced Diploma Supervision has this. We need proper standards around supervision now, and you know, to bring it up to the next level. We are, as we say, we have supervision, so we have to be looking into things deeply and where we're going to, as a profession, develop and grow to next.
Wonderful.
So it is something really good to be involved in.
Wonderful. That's such a great summary. It really is. You really thought about it, and really appreciative of that. So that's pretty much it for today. Once again, thank you so much for agreeing to participate in today's conversation about supervision. I've really enjoyed it, and it's great to see you again.
You too, Mike.
Wish you the very, very best, and look forward to hearing and talking and connecting with you again, Catriona. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Mike.
Take good care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.